Wherever there's an assault, the red flag has to be there. Because he said that they're only in one small state of Kerala, but their ideology is very dangerous, affecting the whole of India. Yes, we are dangerous to you. So the link between the economic issues and the ideological and political issues is very, very critical today.
The development which Pinarayi government is trying to bring in is Modi-like development.
People who say that the Kerala path of development is a Modi path of development, I would just say, do you know what the Modi path of development is? I mean, if you go to Kerala, the next thing these people will be saying is that, oh my God, look at the traffic jams in Kerala, we can't get to one place to another.
From the first Pinarayi government, there has been almost 8 Maoists got killed, and there are so many reports saying that all of them were being fake encounters.
We are totally against encounter killings. I want to tell you that. I've seen how the poorest of tribal communities in Jharkhand are caught between the so-called Maoists on the one hand and the state on the other.
Even Ani Raja once mentioned that how Kerala police is getting, there are saffronization is happening, how Sangh Parivar has a big influence among the Kerala police.
Generally, all through India, what we find is there is a trend of the BJP RSS infiltrating many of the sections of the administration. AAP is it's done well in Delhi, it's done well in Punjab in defeating the BJP.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very important contribution they have made. The BJP openly speaks about it in their abusive way. The AAP plays the same game.
And what's the role of the left parties in that fight against Sangh Parivar?
Without criticism and without listening to voices of people, I don't think a left government can ever successfully govern.
So we discussed about how dreadful the Sangh Parivar is, how their actions are. How do we fight against this? And what's the role of the left parties in that fight against Sangh Parivar?
Well, I think there are 2 or 3 aspects of it. One is ideologically, you can never compromise. Because what we see today is so many political parties who are looking at the so-called Hindu vote, who themselves want to compete in going to religious places, or in getting photographed at religious places, or in going and having a dip in the Ganga, or in saying we are also going to organize Hanuman Chalisa. Why? I mean, this is a private affair. If you want to believe in God and want to worship Him or her in a particular way, you go ahead and do it. Why do you need to have the cameras with you? So what you're doing, you're trying to compete with the BJP in showing what a good Hindu you are. Yes. I'm a better Hindu than you because this is what I can read so many shlokas and you can only do that. And you're allowing the BJP to shift the entire political ground and space onto an area which they are waiting to play on. So, and the BJP and Narendra Modi himself, they realize that the main ideological opposition is from the left. Because he said that they're only in one small state of Kerala, but their ideology is very dangerous, affecting the whole of India. Yes, we are dangerous to you. That's true. There's no doubt about it, because we will fight it. So one is ideological. The second is that we have to be active on taking up basic issues of the people. And within the course of those struggles which we have, like the worker struggle, the farmer struggle, struggles of Adivasis, but we cannot stop at just taking up livelihood issues unless we can link those livelihood issues to the attack on the Constitution of India. So the link between the economic issues and the ideological and political issues is very, very critical today. If we think we can fight on the economic sphere without taking strong political stands, you cannot fight the BJP and the RSS that way. So it has to be approach which links the struggle, the livelihood of the people, which builds people's unity with the struggle against their ideology. Unless that is linked, just economic struggles on livelihood, which are very critical today, extremely critical today, fundamental issues of livelihood and land and against price rise and for jobs, youth for jobs, those are fundamental issues. But we have to link it with the ideological battle. And I think the third thing is always be with the people. There should be no absence of the red flag. Wherever there's oppression, wherever there's an assault, the red flag has to be there. So that is one way. And through that work, we can approach other organizations, other parties who are willing to fight without compromising. Certainly, we must gather all the forces possible.
I think, the fight the left has to do against Sangh Parivar, I think Kerala will have an important role in that as one of the strongest places where one of the strongest places of left parties. But at the same time, there has been, huge criticism against the left government here. One of that thing is that the development which Pinarayi government is trying to bring in is Modi-like development, because it is about the highways and everything. So, and the second criticism against the left government here is about the Kerala police or the encounter killings of Maoists that happened. So, what do you have to say, like we can go one by one, what do you have to say about the development policies of the LDF government here?
Well, of course we always welcome criticism, because without criticism and without listening to voices of people, I don't think a left government can ever successfully govern, because our whole purpose in being in government is to help the people. But while taking on board all kinds of criticism, we do have to clearly ask the question, people who say that the Kerala path of development is a Modi path of development, I would just say, do you know what the Modi path of development is? Is Kerala privatizing all its public sector? In fact, Kerala government is spending money to strengthen the public sector. And 12 public sector, which were under the state government, have been turned around and are profitable. I want to ask the critics, is the Modi government spending any money on health and education? Or are they privatizing everything? So the Kerala government's continued concentration and focus on social indicators makes Kerala number one. So is the Modi government doing that? They'll have to tell me which government is doing that. If they think that is what the Modi government is doing, I think they're very mistaken. Is the Modi government ensuring a minimum wage? Are they ensuring that there is a concerted effort to identify areas of poverty and deprivation and addressing that with affirmative action, like the Kerala government is with its Life Mission, with its Green Mission, with its food security, with its Maveli stores, where you're getting commodities at half the price? I went to a Maveli store the other day and I looked at the price list, and I took that price list and I showed it to our people in other states and said, look, this is the difference. The government is subsidizing 13 commodities and giving it at half the price. Of course, in limited quantities, but that is a huge help to families struggling with price rise. So it's entirely wrong. Do we need highways? Obviously we do. I mean, if you go to Kerala, the next thing these people will be saying is that, oh my God, look at the traffic jams in Kerala. We can't get to one place to another without getting stuck in traffic jams. You do need highways. But are those highways at the expense of people who are not getting any adequate rehabilitation? In fact, in Kerala, over and above what the central government offers, the Kerala government is giving the most generous packages for rehabilitation. Why? Because obviously you cannot have development at the cost of the people. There's no question about it. So I think it is criticism which is unfair because it is not based on facts, it is not based on reality of people's lives, and they don't want debate and discussion. They just want to damn. You do this and you're damned, and you don't do this and you're damned. But I think the Kerala government is confident enough of people's support and its own vision of development to not take too much time and energy in addressing, I think I would say, criticisms which are not really based on reality.
Though we can say that about development, when you think about with the Hyderabad incident, there was like a new discussion, or another way of seeing encounter killings has started, how that will be. So, but many of the CPM leaders and everyone has, to show, even during that incident also they told that, you don't have to praise encounter killings. But at the same time in Kerala, with the Pinarayi government, from the first Pinarayi government, there have been almost 8 Maoists got killed, and there are so many reports saying that all of them were being fake encounters. So
No, we are totally against encounter killings. I want to tell you that categorically. There's no question of the CPIM or any government, including the Kerala government, led by the CPIM, which can ever countenance encounter killings. Now, what were the specific circumstances of the deaths of the Maoists in those incidents which had occurred? I know in the first term of this government, I think there were 1 or 2 cases like that, as far as I know. Okay, so yeah. So, we'll have to go into the details of each case. But I would say that there is no question of countenancing encounter killings. But at the same time, what the Maoists are doing and how the Maoists utilize violence as an instrument to mobilize vulnerable sections of the people in violent ways is something which is not at all in tune with the ideals and goals of the left movement. It has got nothing to do. And I don't know why they continue to call themselves Maoists. They've got nothing to do with the ideology of what Mao Zedong represented. He was a mass leader. He believed in people's struggles. He never believed in individual terrorist killings. So I must tell you that as far as the politics of what they represent, it is very, very detrimental to the left movement in India. Yes. And in fact, we've seen, I work a lot in Jharkhand, and I've seen how the poorest of tribal communities in Jharkhand are caught between the so-called Maoists on the one hand and the state on the other. And how the state utilizes what the Maoists are doing to absolutely sacrifice the interests of tribal communities. There are so many tribals who are today under trials who have nothing to do with that Maoist ideology. So who are they serving? Who are they helping?
With the Maoist ideology again, but I just wanted to ask, like you said, CPIM doesn't support encounter killings at all. Yeah. But whether there was any kind of serious discussions or actions that taken after the incidents happened in Kerala, like this, how CPM is trying to decrease the number of encounter killings or trying.
No, I don't think you can say that encounter killings are very common in Kerala.
No, not frankly. Like common.
So I don't think it's something like a political phenomenon like it is in Assam or it is in Uttar Pradesh, which is a declared policy of the government of the BJP. I don't think it's like that.
Just one more question about the Kerala police. Even Ani Raja once mentioned that, how Kerala police is getting, there are saffronization is happening, how Sangh Parivar has a big influence among the Kerala police. So, what do you have to say about
No,
that?
I think the CPI itself had answered Annie Raja's comments, so I wouldn't really like to comment on that. Generally, all through India, what we find is there is a trend of the BJP RSS infiltrating many of the sections of the administration, etc. In fact, in Madhya Pradesh, they have legalized, or they want to legalize, RSS membership. Earlier there was a ban that you cannot be a member of the RSS and be a government servant. But now they're openly trying to lift that ban if it's not already lifted. So there's no doubt about it that whether it's a judiciary, whether it's officers, whether it's any service, the BJP RSS is always trying to penetrate them. In fact, I was looking at the RSS's annual report, and it's very interesting because it gives all the details of all those people who have met their Sar Sanchalak, Mr. Mohan Bhagwat. And among them are, they say, officers from such and such, so many vice chancellors, so many officers of the judiciary. I mean, it's all out there. So, but I think it would be quite wrong to say, specifically in Kerala, that they are acting in a particular way, which is, I don't know what the evidence for that is. But yeah, it's definitely a trend all over India, which is reflected in the RSS's annual report. I was very interested to see that.
So, like you mentioned that left parties should also stand with other parties who are also against Sangh Parivar. Like, in this fight against Sangh Parivar, where do you see AAP? Like, in a way, like they got in power in Delhi, they are in power in Punjab, they made their appearance in Kerala, not in the exact way of election, but they at the same time they are also called the B team of BJP. Their leader sang the Hanuman Chalisa. So where do you see AAP in all of this political scenario of India?
Well, the AAP is it's done well in Delhi, it's done well in Punjab in defeating the BJP.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very important contribution they have made to weakening the whole, yatra of the BJP. So that is a very important role they have played, as have played many regional parties. So the AAP now, certainly with governments in 2 North Indian states, is playing an important role in keeping the BJP out in these states. But that is definitely a positive aspect. But as far as their own politics and ideology is concerned, and particularly as far as attacks on the minorities are concerned, including what happened in Jahangirpuri, just to take that as one example, the BJP had a campaign that all those people in Jahangirpuri whose houses were being demolished are Rohingyas and Bangladeshis who the AAP is supporting. There's an AAP municipal councillor there. AAP responded by saying, these are Rohingyas and Bangladeshis who have been settled there by the BJP. So what was the contest here? Who can be more abusive about Rohingyas and Bangladeshis, calling citizens of India migrants, illegal migrants, and therefore in a way justifying the bulldozer against them? Therefore, even though there's an AAP councillor there, and even though they have a base in Jahangirpuri area, not a single AAP member, either then or later, have gone to meet the people of C Block who were victims of the bulldozer. The BJP openly speaks about it in their abusive way. The AAP plays the same game.
Yes. Yeah.
What happened in Northeast Delhi? It was a terrible attack on the rights of the minorities, using state power to smash the anti-CA movement. It's very clear. The AAP won the elections. It was in power. Granted, the police are not with the AAP. That's true. Under Amit Shah, there's not much they can do. But politically, they never came out at all against the hate speech of the BJP. Not once. So, that's an area in which those who would like regional parties, like the AAP, to come out firmly and strongly in the ideological battle against the BJP RSS's toxic Hindutva and in defense of rights of minorities, I'm afraid the AAP is missing in action.
Yeah. So thank you so much for spending and sharing your views and thoughts, your strong political statements all with us. And thank you so much.
Thank you.